This video has been sponsored by Vikings War of Clans. If you're still in the mood for stuff about Vikings, stay tuned till the end of the video. Man, have my last few videos been depressing. So let's imagine something stupid. Really stupid. Greenland's very name is a dirty lie. I'm sure you all know this by now, but it was truly an actual lie. When Eric the Red first landed on an island of ice and snow, he basically named the place Greenland to try to get more people to come. More people did, and centuries later that colony kinda just withered and died. So the question I had was, what if Greenland was actually green? No, I'm not talking about global warming melting all the glaciers away, stop it comments. I mean, what if Greenland simply never had glaciers to begin with? Now, before I begin, here is a disclaimer. This is really just an odd idea. It shouldn't be taken as a serious intellectual thing. It's just a short, strange video while I slave over writing my book. But just because it's goofy doesn't mean we can't learn some stuff. So let's talk about how Greenland even got glaciers in the first place. It's believed that Greenland went from green to ice around 3 million years ago, around the same time the rest of the world experienced a massive cooling event, the Ice Age. North America, Europe, and Asia looked just like the island does today. The difference for Greenland was those glaciers never went away after the Earth slightly warmed back up. For the sake of the scenario, let's just say the Earth gradually warms up sometime within the last couple thousand years to the temperature it had 3 million years ago, before the glaciers came, so Greenland can stay green. Think of it like the medieval warm period, but really warm. Like sticking your head in an oven warm. From a scientific standpoint, this is just crazy to imagine, but this isn't the most realistic scenario, so stick with me. A world so warm, there are no glaciers dramatically changes everything on Earth. All that water had to come from somewhere, and if it isn't in glaciers, it's going to be in the ocean. Sea levels in this alternate world are 6 meters or 20 feet higher than our own. I think you can tell by now that world history is dramatically altered beyond recognition, assuming this warming happens in a time when agriculture is everything, especially in already hot places like Egypt and Mesopotamia, if they're not already underwater. Things getting warmer would probably just make life unbearable, kill crops, and collapse civilizations into famine and anarchy. But we don't care about them. We only care about the Vikings, who, living in a cold area, probably are just surprised the winters are shorter. And they are all we care about in this scenario. Since the Vikings were relatively isolated from the rest of the world until they started raiding, I figured they'd know how to make boats regardless of the temperature change. So the Scandinavians set sail on the relatively warm waters of the North Sea and eventually land onto Greenland, which is actually green. But how would they colonize such a place? What does it look like? Thanks to radar and satellites, scientists have been able to see what Greenland actually looks like under the ice sheet. Greenland underneath the ice is one big bowl. In every direction, the coastline is tall mountains and high elevation, but in the center is a valley. This can be attributed to the ice pushing down the center over millions of years. Even without the glacier ever forming, the area would still be lower in elevation than the rest of the island. So the valley kinda remains. If the Vikings landed on a Greenland without ice, this valley offers the best area for agriculture, and also a better defense against outside invaders, or at least the people that already live there. Inuit people still would have crossed over from Canada and lived on the island, although in contrast to our history where the cold separated the two groups and they rarely interacted, this warmed land could lead to interaction and competition over regions. And isn't that what we all just love? The land they compete over is much like northern Canada today. It's covered in grass and dense forest. With this warmer weather, it's unlikely the Viking colony could simply die off like it did in our own history. Its history could be much more like Iceland, which stayed connected to the Scandinavian world after the Vikings landed on it. The best thing you can take from this scenario is Vikings don't starve to death when they land on the island. Even though the Vikings on Greenland didn't survive, you know who did? Yours. Well, if you know your stuff, that is. This video was sponsored by Vikings War of Clans, where you can see if your Vikings will survive the hardships of war in PvP and PvE battles. It's an online strategy game, what's not to like? The app just went through an update, so now is the best time to hop on board. Build a fortress or gather your friends to build a Viking army together and raid the world. Try out the in-game battle events of over 1 million players. It's actually pretty great. All of it is in a neat mobile package of HD 3D graphics completely free. So if you're into mobile games, try Vikings now, install the game only with my links in the description below and get 200 gold and a protection shield for absolutely free. This is Cody of Alternate History Hub.